Okay, I've been hearing some buzz about this legislation that is in Washington State, and since this is where I'm from, I thought I'd look into it, give it a look, and see rather than remain blissfully ignorant because you don't really want to look into these things because it's just too much. It's too much, but let's take a look at it. Procedures for isolation or quarantine. Yes, it's true, everybody. At his or her sole discretion, a local health officer may issue an emergency detention order causing a person or group of persons, like a family, to be immediately detained for purposes of isolation or quarantine in accordance with subsection 3 of this section, or may petition the Superior Court ex parte. And just so you know what ex parte means, ex parte, it means of or relating to an action in a legal proceeding by one party without the presence or participation of the opposing parties on behalf of or involving one party to a legal matter in the absence of, and usually without notice to the other party, for in order to take the person or group of persons into involuntary detention for purposes of isolation or quarantine in accordance with subsection 4 of this section, provided that he or she, A, has first made reasonable efforts, which shall be documented, to obtain voluntary compliance with requests for medical examination, testing, treatment, counseling, jabberation, decontamination of persons or animals. Okay, so if you didn't see my bird flu video, please go and look at it because this is what I was talking about in it. Decontamination of persons or animals. They're including this part right here in it because they want to make sure to cover all their bases so that people can come in and take your animals. Like I said, no beef, no chicken. You won't be able to own them. So that it has been included in this piece of legislation. So isolation, quarantine, and inspection and closure of facilities, or has determined in his or her professional judgment that seeking voluntary compliance would create a risk of serious harm, and B, has reason to believe that the person or group of persons or is suspected to be infected with, exposed to, or contaminated with a communicable disease or chemical, biological, or radiological agent that could spread or to or contaminate others if remedial action is not taken. And who's going to make that decision? It's going to be somebody who does not have your best interests in mind here. A local health officer may, this person right here, a local health officer may invoke the powers of police officers, sheriffs, constables, and other officers and employees of any political subdivisions within the jurisdiction of the health department to enforce immediately orders given to effectuate the purposes of this section in accordance with the provisions of RCW 43-20050 and 70-05-120. If a local health officer orders the immediate involuntary detention of a person or group of persons for purpose of isolation or quarantine, the emergency detention order shall be for a period not to exceed 10 days. And we've seen what happened in Australia, and this is can always be changed right here, this 10 days. That because of testing, they are able to have a little loophole for their 10 days here. So the local health officer shall issue a written emergency detention order as soon as reasonably possible and in all cases within 12 hours of detention that shall specify the following: the identity of all persons or groups subject to isolation or quarantine, the premises subject to isolation or quarantine. You know, this to me looks like they can actually, I don't know, take your home, because does this include them taking your property and home because maybe it's been contaminated? I don't know. The date and time which the isolation or quarantine commences, the suspected communicable disease of infectious agent, if known. Oh my goodness. This is hard to read because it's incredibly just mind-blowing what is going on right now. There's a lot of legalese. I'm not going to read through it anymore. As you can see, they are getting ready to bring in what's going on in Australia. They're bringing it here. Whatever's going on in China, they're bringing it here. So don't get too comfy because it's about to get real. Basically, what you need to know is, yes, this is true. This is the procedure for isolation or quarantine in Washington State. This is not what I wanted to see. I don't want to have to read this, and it's just wrong on every level, but it is true, and I just wanted to let everybody know, and everybody needs Jesus right now while you still have time. All right, God bless you.
Now let me tell you about the additional steps I'm ordering today to take on what is coming. I know you've heard a lot of this in the news already this morning. 3 weeks ago, I laid out a COVID-19 action plan for this winter that prepared us for this moment. Today, we're making the plan even stronger. First, we're setting up our vaccination and booster efforts. We're stepping it up significantly. In the past 2 weeks, we've seen the highest vaccination rates since last spring. And we aren't as vaccinated as a country as we should be, though. That's why we have added 10,000 new vaccination sites on top of the 80,000 sites that we already had in place. And even more will open in January. I know there's some parts of this country where people are very eager to get the booster, where it's harder to get an appointment, So starting this week, I'll be deploying hundreds more vaccinators and more sites to help get the booster shots in people's arms. I've ordered FEMA, the Federal Emergency Management Agency, to stand up new pop-up vaccination clinics all across the country where you can get that. We've opened, we've opened FEMA vaccination sites in Washington State,